Hey y'all, it's Tim. Thanks for coming back for another road trip. We're going to be heading to the town of Gentry today. Now, Gentry is a little place, it's about 4,500 people, and it was founded in 1894 as Orchard City. And then a few years later, they renamed it to Gentry after the name of the man that owned the railroad at the time. You know, it makes sense that a lot of these little towns grew up alongside the railroad tracks. In fact, you can see them to the right. One of the other things that Gentry is known for is that they have a Little Debbie bakery. There's 4 in the nation and they have one here. There's also a store that sells their leftovers, day-old goods, things like that. It's a fun place to go check out. While we're driving, I just want to mention, this whole thing started as an opportunity for my wife and I to spend time together. See, we both enjoy photography and we both enjoy eating. And what I started doing is looking for places to eat in cute little towns. Things like a diner or a cafe or like a granny's kitchen, just places where you can get tasty Southern food. And eventually we started taking our cameras along after doing that a few times and started realizing that there's a lot of really neat little places. It's just quiet. It's not a big city like New York City. You go downtown and it's all hustle and bustle. But as you can see, there's life in all of these little towns, and it has a history all of its own. And so it's kind of grown from there into the passion of taking pictures of these little towns to remember them and the little cool buildings along the way. So here's the downtown. As you can see, some of these buildings are really old. And it's just cool to see something that's been there for a long time, and you think about the fact that these streets used to be probably dirt streets. I mean, it's like a Wild West movie in a way. And instead, here we are driving on it over 100 years later. So it's just really cool to get out and experience a little bit. You live in an area and you think, there's nothing around me. And maybe there's nothing grandiose around you, but there's going to be really cool little things that you can get out and see and do that give you the flavor of the area that you're living in. Now, speaking of flavor, we passed a pizza joint at the very beginning of this little downtown stretch, so we're going to go back. We're going to get us something to eat. Got to have some fuel for the photography. All right, so you see Pioneer Pizza here. Pioneer is the mascot of the local high school. So this place was really tasty. It reminded me of when I was a kid and would be on the road. And I think that's one of the things I really love about what we're doing is that it takes me back. These old red cups have been around since the 80s. And it just makes me feel like a kid again. I don't know about y'all, but we used to drive everywhere when I was growing up. There weren't no taking planes and things like that for Southern folk. We drove across country. And so I had so many memories of little diners like this on the road when we're hungry and thirsty, and it's just a great experience. Now, I do want to point out that I'm not taking my big regular camera into the restaurant. It's too obnoxious, and I'm not trying to be that kind of guy. I have a Ricoh GR3 that's a specific little camera that I got just for this kind of stuff. It is pocketable, it looks like a 90s point and shoot. It's great, I love it. They're kind of hard to come by right now because they're always on back order. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you loved arcades and the little machines in them. And seeing this room just took me back. Now, I never got to really play in arcades because my dad just wasn't about giving me money to waste on video games. But the colors, the lights, the sounds, it was like being a kid again. Really had a great time in this place. I loved it. I'll totally go back again. Highly recommend Pioneer Pizza in Gentry. You should drive out there if you're in the area, just to get out and experience it. I'm not saying it's gonna be like the best pizza you've ever had, but you throw the drive in the mix and the atmosphere, and I think it's great. All right, and now that we've had something to eat, let's get to work. It's a beautiful day. I look for days with clouds, not too much, but I don't want just a perfect blue sky. I think it adds something to the pictures to have the clouds in the background. I also don't want to over talk all of this, so why don't you just sit back and enjoy some photos. I don't know if you noticed that the pictures were changing in time with the music, but I thought that was really cool. It was a total accident, but then I was afraid to like mess with any of it. But thank you guys for coming along. We're gonna drive to the little town of Cave Springs next. If you know any cool places we should visit, why don't you put a comment down there and let me know. Have a good one.